Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Thomas of Woodstock and we get to hear from King Richard II today in Act 2, Scene 1. Now in this scene we're hanging out with Richard and his flatterers who, remember, had actually tried to poison the uncles at the beginning of the play, but they were unsuccessful in doing that. So they kind of want to get rid of the uncles kind of want to get rid of them. And at the beginning of this scene, they were talking about how unfairly the uncles are treating Richard and that they are trying to steer him wrong and all this sort of stuff. And they get to the point where they're like, well, let's just arrest them all on treason and then we can get rid of them. But they're like, no, actually, we can't do that because the public still likes them. So let's see if we can find some historical precedent that Richard can get rid of his uncles and not have to deal with them anymore. But before they can get too far into that, Bushy is reading this history book and he finds a couple examples, but he also finds Richard's birth date, which means that Richard is actually about to turn 22, so technically he doesn't need a Lord Protector anymore and shouldn't have a Lord Protector anymore. So Richard is now furious with his uncles for making him think that he's younger than he actually is and that he needs a Lord Protector looking out for him. But before he can go too far down that rabbit hole, York shows up to talk to him. And York comes in and Richard greets him by saying, "Methinks 'tis strange, my good and reverend uncle, you and the rest should thus malign against us, and every hour with rude and bitter taunts abuse King Richard and his harmless friends. We had a father that once called ye brother, a grandsire too that titled you his son, but could they see how you have wronged King Richard, their ghosts would haunt ye, and in dead of night fright all your quiet sleeps with horrid fears." I pray, stand up. We honor reverend years in meaner subjects. Good uncle, rise and tell us, what further mischiefs are there now devised to torture and afflict your sovereign with? So it's not a super cheerful, happy greeting. He's going for the jugular from the get-go. He's like, I know that you're out to get me, and you're rude, and you're bitter, and you're making my life miserable, and your father would be embarrassed by you, and his father would be embarrassed by you. They would come and haunt you in your sleep if they knew how you were treating me. But then he sort of catches himself. He's like, all right, you're older than me, therefore I have to treat you with some sort of reverence. Stand up and tell me what other horrible, evil, mischievous plots do you have right now that are going to make my life even more difficult? So York says, I'm not trying to treat you badly. I respect you. You have my loyalty. You have my admiration. You have all these things. I just wanted to invite you because we've assembled a parliament that is going to be meeting to talk about affairs affecting the kingdom. And we would love for you to come and listen to all of these things so that you can give us your opinions and weigh in on all this sort of stuff. And Richard is like, they pulled together a parliament without telling me about it and without my input. Well, okay, fine, I'll go. You tell them that I'll be there. So York says, thank you, with a little bit more reverence. And then he exits. And before the scene ends, in just those last couple lines before the scene ends, Richard is like, yeah, I'm going to go to this parliament and I'm going to dissolve it so that I can make one of my own that will actually punish my uncles and give me more power and get rid of this whole Lord Protector thing, because that's ridiculous because I'm about to be 22 years old. And that's the end of the scene. So Richard he's got a little bit of a thorn in his side, and the uncles are not having it, and he is not having it from them. So yeah, this is all going to turn out to be super happy fun times, right? Come on back tomorrow for more. Mwah.